I always got to make sure that this is live and everything's good to go.
Yeah, I always love these when people are watching and we don't know we're live and we're just talking about nothing.
Just talking about shit. Me and Shawnee used to do this all the time back in the
Yeah,
day.
it's so great.
Guys, if you can hear me, let me know because I just want to make sure that we're all good to go. I'm with my very, very good friend Scott Allan. Do you actually say your name is Scott Allan or do you say it's Scott?
Scott,
Yeah.
last
Where
name's
did Allan
Kratochvil.
come? Where did the
So
Allan come?
that's my middle name, and my mom uses it when I'm in trouble.
Oh
My
yeah.
whole life I heard Scott Allan, routinely, and it's one of those that yeah, some people throw it out there because they're actually. I had a business partner. His name was Scott, so I'm either Scotty K, Scott Allan, or Scooter, depending on who I'm dealing with.
Yeah, it's stuck. So just FYI, guys, I met my good friend Scotty, who we've been kind of connected for the last number of years, especially since I kind of walked into this industry. I think you've been in the online kind of space for 6 or so years, and then high ticket sales for the last 3 or 4.
Yeah, correct.
Just kind of being connected. We bounced around different places and different things, and we've always kind of stayed in the game with each other. And I was very privileged and honored when you asked to come into a lead and to help you with a couple of different things and stuff like that. And I always feel privileged and honored when I know people from like 3, 4, 5 years ago that come back and ask me to help them. That means an awful lot to me more than anything, because that means that you've seen tons from this person, that person, everyone else in between, and for you to come all the way back means the world. So without further ado, guys, if you can hear this, guys, just let me know that you can hear. Just let me know in the comments that we're good to go. And what I want to do is I just want to open up the floor for Scotty and his beautiful hat. He did that specifically for me today. And just give us a bit of a rundown of who you are, what you are, where you're from, what you sell, and kind of your experience of this industry, buddy, if that works, so people can understand.
Yeah, so I kind of had the same background as you. Started in health and wellness 25 years ago as a personal trainer, and
Yeah.
grew my career all the way up to running, fitness centers. Opened up my own, and then, gosh, I want to say it was about 6, 7 years ago. Hired a guru out there to learn how to pivot online. I used to help people reverse rheumatoid arthritis naturally, so I had an AK offer for that. And
Yeah.
that's really what moved me into the online space and really attracted me to it. Number one, having a business that you don't have to have $20,000 a month just to keep the lights on, right? And so during that process, I learned a ton of what to do, what not to do. Really got me excited about the sales portion, got me excited about the marketing portion. I made a pivot about 3 years ago, right around the time of COVID, and I think a lot of people's lives really made a massive shift there. And I moved online as a remote sales rep. At that point, I left both my businesses, decided to do the sales. That's how you and I got connected, And
Oh,
the one thing I want to say, Bill, number one, thank you to you, because when we first connected, I mean, I'd reach out to you, you'd give me little tips here and there. You've always been just the most amazing support system over the last 3 years as I've been going through this journey, and in multiple ways. I really wish people knew you on a personal level the way that I do, because your heart is overflowing with caring with everybody in the space who wants to learn, even more so with everybody that is in elite, right? Like you're going to die on the sword before you're going to let somebody that fail, and there aren't too many people in the space that are like that. When you first started the objection box, you reached out to me. I think I was one of the first individuals. You said, "Hey, I've got 20 guys and gals coming in. I'm only taking 20. We're going to crush this. I want you on board." And unfortunately, I told you it's not a good time for me right now. And I kept watching you grow, and what you've done with the objection box is really miraculous. That's the best way I can see it. It's not very often you have somebody move into a competitive niche like this and explode the way you have. And that's a testament to what you're doing inside with individuals. And I reached out to you about 6 months ago, say, "Hey, it's a good time now," and you hopped on the phone, we chatted for 15 minutes. And the past 6 months I've been in the objection box, and you guys reached out, a couple of weeks ago and asked me to do a testimonial, and I told you I'll do one, and I will. But there's a part of me, I feel like a testimonial will actually, it is actually kind of, I guess, doing you a disservice and other people a disservice.
Yeah. How so?
Well, because you have so many people out there where, and you posted about me, hey, I consistently doing like 8 to 12K months, develop skills, you get better, you see bumps, and then so many reps, they crash back down. Um, you get good results, you crash back down. And some people, it's like, hey, that's the nature of the game. Where in reality, a lot of the people that are in the objection box, it's not, hey, I hit this 20K month, I hit this 30K month.
Yeah.
It's I'm consistently hitting these months, right? And how many of those testimonials do you have now?
It's too many too. And I think where, like, as you've gone there, it's kind of like testimonials kind of lose their juice when you have thousands of them.
Yeah. And
That's kind of where we're at. They kind of like they don't move the needle that much for us anymore. It's kind of like, oh, I know he works with Bill or X, Y, and Z. Not to blow around trumpets because it's just there for you guys. It's more of a case of, oh, that's to be expected now. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like when a really good basketball player goes out and puts down 24 points in a game. You're like, oh, well, that's what he just does. And it's interesting because you work your life to be able to have that level of consistency. For them people to just overlook it. So it's a very interesting market. It's a very interesting space for sure. It's very much like that.
and that's I guess one thing, anybody watching this, I want you to, yeah, you can go back and look at all the testimonials, and you can talk to anybody that's been in. We're all going to tell you the same thing. The moment you start with the objection box, the moment you start training with Bill, with Nick, James, Francine, everybody across the board in your team also is just as amazing as you are, I guess is the best way to put it. You've all got your own unique skill sets. You guys are all top level people. You all do exactly what you're going to say. You guys all hold everybody accountable to doing what they're going to say.
Yeah.
You make sure that nobody's left behind. And, when I jumped in and reached out to you, I knew the results you were getting people. I knew who you were. But the real deciding factor for me, I look at things very strategically. And I think there's a lot of people in the space that go out and just will jump into a program for whatever because of hype marketing, because there's a bunch of stuff. Every call and every program I've ever gotten on, I pretty much was 99% I already knew I was in because I did my research on that, and I had pretty much already made that decision. And because when I look at something, I follow multiple principles, and number one is success is very easy, right? If you follow a formula of somebody else that's successful, what's your chance of success?
Yeah, very high.
It's there. And looking at your system in the objection box and what you do, and a lot of people just think you focus on objections, which you've helped me just as much on the front end and as you have with the objections. But the big thing, whenever I'm looking at something, I look at it going, okay, is the strategy successful? Obviously, what you're teaching is extremely successful.
Yeah.
Now, is it a system that actually is repeatable for me? I think that's where so many people are in the online space, either as a business owner, sales rep. They're following a system that is successful for somebody else, but not repeatable for them. So looking at what you teach, I know that the system is a bunch of data points that I can follow that will work for me.
Yeah.
More importantly, if I'm trying to reach success anywhere in life, can I move the needle on certain data points? So can I track my results? You teach all of that there. You have all of that, right? And so that's how you're getting the amazing success with the individuals you have, is you actually have a strategy that works. You have a system in place that teaches it, and everybody can improve as you're going through. Yeah. And that was the game changer when I said, okay, I'm all in, let's go. Yeah. And I jumped in, at the beginning of the year, right when you were making the pivot from, I think 90 days to 6 months.
Yeah.
And when you told me that, I was so damn excited about that.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, that's awesome, right? Yeah. Like, that's so much more value. But the thing that hit me the most is you said, the reason why I'm doing that is because I had so many people come in, we get them. And I think you said, hey, they're launching firecrackers by week by day 60,
Mhm.
and they keep that there. And then a month after, then they kind of dwindle down because you've developed the ability to use the weapon, but you're not a skilled samurai yet. That extra 3 months allows you to be a skilled samurai, right?
Right.
And that's the big thing about martial arts. It's you don't learn 10,000 kicks. It's have you mastered that one kick 10,000 times, right? And it's that 1% difference. And all of those pieces, when I looked at it, was the decision maker for me. Combining who you are, it's actually a strategy that works. I know it's going to get me to point A, point B. And that's where it was able to get me to like a 20K week
Yeah.
and have extreme success where the majority of people I talk to enroll now.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
sales
is
should
a huge game
be.
changer.
That's how sales should be. And I get that all the time from people. Like everybody I speak to now either buys or says no. And there's no there's no fillers, meaning like, can you let me just think about it? Let me go to the partners. Can you do this? Can you do that? It's like, how can you hold the frame so strong that you get a yes, no, yes or no? That's it. Like, and I think that's really important because look, we've all been in different spaces, and people are like, your pipeline is how you make your money, is how you have consistency and all of this great stuff. I had a very good friend of mine who just made most of his sales from his pipeline. And I used to always say to him, I was like, but like, if you do that, this is what people don't understand. I'm going to give you some juice here today, guys. Let's say for argument's sake, you guys have 30 hours on your calendar every single week. And let's say you speak to 25 people, and let's say, 5 people are, in a position where they don't buy and they want a second call. Now, what's going to happen next week is that you still have the same 30 hours, but what you have now is actually you've reduced that 30 hours down to 25, and then you've reduced another 5 because 5 don't show up for whatever reason or whatever. So every month or every week, you're reducing your calls by 5 access points every single week. Now, what tends to happen is that you get to the end of the month and you say to yourself, but I've worked all of these hours, 30, 60, 90, 120 hours a week, but I'm still making less money than I was. That's why, because you keep losing hours to people that don't want to move forward because you just don't have enough skill set to be able to sit with people and figure that out on the first call. And you just keep losing hours upon hours upon hours and upon hours. And you're like, but I'm working all the hours under the sun. Yeah, but you're not doing money making activities. What you're doing is you're wasting time with people that don't want what you have, and you're losing precious calendar space for people that aren't interested in what you have to offer. That's the issue. That's one big issue I have with, the skill set. Another big issue I have is that, and you've seen it yourself over the last 25 years of business, is that people lack the confidence in themselves. And I think a big issue that we have in this industry, and I'd love to know your thoughts on it, is two things, twofold. Number one is a society issue, and number two, it's an industry issue. Number one, the society issue is that if you have been born from 1995 to thousands all the way up to today, where do you typically live your life? Online. And when you live your life online, you lose a certain amount of, I suppose, characteristics. Number one, you haven't probably dug a hole in your life. Number two, you probably haven't been shouting that in your life. Number three, you probably haven't enough social skills to be able to have conversations with random people and strangers all through your life. So you miss a tremendous amount of social skills, ethics skills, process skills, and you miss a whole lot of work rate, meaning outcome. So that's a society issue. I think as an industry issue, I have, and I'd love to know your opinion on these two, is as an industry, I think a lot of people are being sold on the top of the funnel on the idea that sales is going to be easy. And sales is the ticket to your first 10K months, and you never have to dig a hole again. You never have to go and be a person again. You just live in front of your screen and, you work for 2 hours a day and you make 10 grand a week. And a lot of people are bitter. A lot of people are resentful, and a lot of people now are feeling entitled because they paid some person 8 months ago who's some 22-year-old marketing kid, because that's what it is. It's just pure marketing. And what I say and what you're saying here today is not very sexy. It's not very beautiful. But what is beautiful is what it allows us to have, which is great homes, great relationships, great cars, great holidays, great lives. We're not in that pike and up and down and up and down and up and down. What's your thoughts on the industry, but what's your thoughts on the society that we live in ourselves today?
Yeah, so the two different pieces there, the society part. I couldn't agree more. Online's a totally different animal, and society, we're a microwave society, right? Pop a pill, fix it, put it in the microwave, heat it up. It's all instant gratification. And the sales professionals you see out there, they're very successful. They're in it for the long haul.
Yep.
Sean Ray, there's some leaders out there that, again, we're 35, 40, 45, 50. We're in that 15-year mark. We've been through life. We've had some amazing successes. We've been kicked in the teeth. We've been punched in the throat. We've won battles, and we've lost many other ones.
Yeah.
You realize there's a long game here, and there are certain people in the remote space that, like you said, that they expect to just have immediate results. Like, hey, I'm gonna take this program, I'm gonna get on this offer, and this is gonna be my magic ticket to all of a sudden to great success. Over this year, if we use an example of a couple people that are in the objection box, Christian Jack, look where he started to where he is and where he grew himself in 6 to 12 months, right? He actually put something, Rachel, who's also in the objection box, she commented on something like, Christian, how you get so comfortable on call, have this demeanor, and my comment back to which I think really is to a lot of people. Say it again.
We skipped the Rachel part. We hit the Rachel, and then your internet went scadaddy. Go again.
Well, yeah, so Rachel commented like, hey, how do you get so comfortable and have your demeanor so nonchalant and pulled back, right? Like, well, everyone's told, hey, detach from the sale and blah 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 blah. Yeah, but truthfully, that's something that comes inward. So the comment I made to Rachel was, it's from reps and confidence. You know how to handle any situation that comes up. Right. And I said, Rachel, what seen you from where you were like 4 months ago to where you are now is a complete 180. She doesn't see it because she deals with herself every day.
Yeah. You can't see it because you're just in the game. You can't see how the game is being played. You don't know the formation of the team because you're on the field. Yeah.
And I said, keep doing what you're doing. You getting to that point is inevitable.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where a lot of people get so much in their head. And I'm sure you've been there. I know I've been there countless times where I'm in my head so bad, comparing myself to somebody else or whatever it may be through life, that it just messes up your whole world. There's no confidence then. Also, I think one of the areas that I see some remote sales struggling with is they think if I just read off a script, it's going to magically solve my problem.
Yeah.
Rather than being present in actually the conversation. And they don't actually have the communication skills. And this goes to talk about being online. Putting posts out and putting DMs is one communication skill.
Yeah.
Talking face to face with somebody is a different communication skill. And a lot of people don't have that communication skill down because they're off a script. And that was one thing I saw with Jack, Sam, Rachel, all those guys.
They do not actually have the life experience either, Scott, if you think about it, right? So I'll just talk about me because I can't talk about anybody else. So for argument's sake, right, there's a great saying, it doesn't take a lot of time to become successful, but it takes a lot of time to become the person that can be successful. What that means to me is, like, that is instant. Like, we made $1 million in 4 months, but it took me 28 years of my life of life experiences to be able to put all that together, to be able to come out the other side. So for argument's sake, when you talk about conversation flexibility and be able to stand in conversations, to be able not to just read off a script. So just, this is how, like, in my opinion, has helped me as a business owner, but also as a salesperson and as someone that can lead a lot of people, is like, we've had a pub in Ireland for my whole life. So from the age of 6, I could sit in the bar, sit on the high stool and have grown-up conversations with grown-ups. And that went through all the way up until I was 18 years of age, till I went to military. So from military, I had 4.5 years of being shouted at, bawled at, cried at, bitched at. Your boots are unpolished, and you build up that callus in your brain, and you build up being able to sit in the pocket with people while they're shouting at you or having difficult conversations. Then I had my little girl, and then I came to London and I built a fitness business literally from the ground, meaning I had two numbers in my phone, my partner and her dad. And we built the business and X, Y, and Z. And you're in the gym, and you know the gym. It's like you're dealing with people, you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with goals, you're dealing with, hesitations, you're dealing with people on a Saturday night. Hey, my husband just ordered a takeaway. What should I do? What the fuck do you want me to say, Sally? Like, what do you mean? What should I do? Do you know what I mean? So you build that kind of callus. And then I stepped into sales, and it was like all of the last 20 years of experience came in a fucking form of like dialogue with just one person. And it, like, all of your life experiences will come together if you have a lot of life experience. And the big issue that I see with a lot of these young kids coming through is they just don't have that interaction. They're just not able. I had a gentleman, no, not I won't say gender actually. I think it was a girl or whatever maybe, but someone who just doesn't have that social interaction every single day. And you think of people like that are on shift work. You people think of people that drive the bus. You think of people that are in, where they're, in an office somewhere, and X, Y, and Z. They just don't have that social capacity. It's very, very hard sales for those types of people. And that person said to me, will you help me with my communication skill? Now, this is a person that's like nearly 40 years of age.
Yeah.
That scared me. I was like, fuck. That was like, shit, how did we get here in this world? And it's only going to get worse now because AI is even taking away it's even taken away our ability to think about things. It's even taken away our ability to formulate conversations or formulate bullet points or build out presentations or whatever else. The computer is just taking over everything. And we're not some fucking, iRobot conversation here today, but what I think a lot of people need to be doing is they need to be getting punched in the dick. Just to bring this full circle, you need to get punched in the dick. Like I've been in the pub, been in high level sport, been in military, building businesses, building rejection, win, rejection, win. That's all sales is how can I get so many rejections that I get really good really quick without feeling insecure about the rejection, and I think a lot of people aren't in that position, that they're willing to suck in order to suck less. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, and starting in restaurants when I was 15, moving into fitness centers, after 10 years of that again, if I'm bartending and the place is dead and one person sits down at the bar that I've never seen in my life, I have to immediately have a conversation with them, right? You can't just be that uncomfortable and just stare at him, drink his beer, right? You have to have that. So a lot of people don't have that skill, like you said, and same thing with personal training. When you're working with someone for an hour, like you're having that communication skill built,
Yeah.
but also you're trying to convince them to do something they don't want to do, whether it's that exercise right now, keep going. You need to really get your diet. And so all of these things have helped me progress. And a lot of individuals, when they first jump in, they don't, like you, to your point, they don't have the conversation skills to really talk to somebody. And if you don't have that conversation skill, you don't have that confidence, and you hop on a call and it's just extremely nervous, it's over, right? And that's where, like everybody I see in the objection box, again, going back to Christian, I see Rachel improving, Sam, and I'm not even going to butcher his last name, it's like mine. Watching him go from where he was a few short months ago to where he is now, it's not just about the tracks. It's not just about the objections. It truly is about that confidence. It's one of the reasons why I like working on biz ops rather than fitness or other things, because I've been a business owner. I can talk to a business owner immediately. What's going on with your business? Cool. And know what I'm talking about because I've been a business owner, right? And there's a different level of confidence there that a lot of people don't have. And I think that confidence, number one, is to your point, where you need to develop on your communication skills and get off of just DMing and text messaging. Start having open conversations. When you're out in public, just start having conversation with the line of the people at the grocery store. Like I'm notorious for that, just to open up conversations, just to make them uncomfortable. And it goes back to like a NASA astronaut. 99% of their training is how to think clearly in a high stress situation. You went through that in the military, right? Like, how do you think clearly, stay composed, be calm when bullets are zinging by your head, right? That's how you survive. And a lot of people don't have that ability to do that. Yeah. And it's one of those underlying factors, the objection box that people get, even though you're not teaching it, they see it from you guys. And that's one of those key things of like talking again about success. Get around 5 people that are successful, that are where you want to be, and get around them all the time. Now, being in the objection box and be around 100 people like that, how can you not improve?
Yeah, it's like all boats will rise with the tide. That's the game. That's what boat wanted it to be, you know. But it also comes with it comes down to yourself, you know. And I see a lot of people joining programs, and I've sold a lot of programs. I've sold everything and anything, and all the way short the phone. I always say to people, the easiest thing you'll ever give me is your money. The cheapest form of commitment is money. And people are always like, because people hold on to money as if it's like the holy grail. And I was coaching one of the guys inside, and he was like, this gentleman had $6,000 in his hand, and he felt that that was a lifeblood. And I had to break down with him how it's not a lifeblood. It's actually holding him hostage. Because if you have $6,000 in your hand, in your pocket, and you think that that's going to keep you above water, believe me, it's not. What that actually is, it's a life chance. Because that gives you an ability to move with the right people and all the right stuff. People think that, like, if you have a little bit of money in your pocket, that's going to save you. It can't save you, because if you live in the free world, and if you live in the first world like we do, your rent is anywhere from $1,500 a month to $4,000 a month. So if you have $6,000, that means that if you never made another dollar for another couple of months, let's call it 4 months, you have 4 months of living in your house. That's without your food, that's without your cars, that's without your phone, that's without your bills, that's without your tax. So that $6,000 isn't even a life beat. It's just there, basically holding you hostage to think that you have something when you don't. You know, and it's just in being able to change people's perspective and just allow them to see the world from a different point of view is what objections is. But I always say to people, like, the cheapest form of commitment you'll ever give me is your money. It's like when we were in the gyms and people bought gym memberships, but then they never totaled up. And then they like come 6 months and they're like, I've after putting on 2 stone. You're like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. You bought something and you never use it. So how else are you going to fucking make work? You know, so if you give people time, if you give people energy, if you give them commitment, if you allow yourself to, I always sit at the weekend, Scotty, and I think about the week and I kind of debrief everything. And what I thought about this weekend was quite funny. I said to myself, if you can get over my directness and my abruptness and my kind of style of coaching, which is very in your face, which is very kind of like, it's because that's just how I've been coached my whole life. It's just what moves me as a person. That directness, that like, hey, you're being a cunt, it's not working, we're going to change it or else you're going to fail. That's how I've always been grown. Like, I come from Ireland, so that's how we speak in Ireland. It's very direct, it's very in your face, it's very kind of like, this is what it is or you're going to fail. And which one do you want? Do you want to fail or do you want to grow? So if you can get over that and you can take it with a pinch of salt and you can take out your own emotion out of it and you can stop thinking that I'm here to hurt you, but I'm here to encourage you and motivate you and to get you moving forward. As you politely put out multiple times here, we will change your life. You know, we will give you the right tools and skills to move forward. I think a lot of people are afraid of that. They're afraid of that directness. Because they don't get it. You can't get that level of kind of in your face accountability when you're standing behind a phone. Yeah. I mean, and you're right. Like, we obviously know our good friend Shawnee, and we may have some things in the pipes and all that kind of stuff. But Shawnee's another great example for me. A very, very good friend of mine. He's getting married here actually at the end of December.
Yeah, it's coming up quick.
But he's like been punched and kicked and pulled and dragged and everything else. Like, he's been a police officer here in the UK for over 10 years. And being in gyms as well. He was in one of the most exclusive gyms in Kensington. I think it's Equinox or one of those places. So you're dealing with high net individuals who have a massive ego. So you're dealing with people on a daily basis who are like perceived, you know, in a better place than you. And I never really bought into that kind of shit. But
great.
It's the same thing. It's all about reputation. It's all about relationships, and it's all about conversation flexibility. If you don't have it, you're going to struggle really, really much. You know, and that's the issue, unfortunately.
if we jump back a couple steps real quick, I just want people to kind of realize what everything you just really kind of unsaid, kind of said there, and unpack a few things. So number one, when you kind of just talked about, the $6,000, right? Like that was a complete objection handle, right? But it's not in the framework.
No.
But you're able to do that because you've been there, you've
Yeah.
gone through that, right? And that's one of the things, like I said, of the reason why the objection box and jumping in with you and going through is because I knew I had a framework to go off of. And you're able to do that objection. And a lot of people aren't able to actually get to a point of like what you just said to somebody to say, hey, that 6K, it might be your last 6K. But to your point, that 6K is a kryptonite around your neck that's going to make you die rather than you taking that off and turning into Superman, right? Because you're holding on to it like it's the world. To be able to have that conversation truly with somebody, a lot of people don't have because they're staying in a script.
Yeah.
And you talk that way all the time in your trainings. And going with like your comment about your bluntness, Captain Underpants. I love when you throw Captain Underpants in all your posts or your emails. I love it. It always just puts a smile on my face. And I think that's why, like at the very beginning too, I said I wish people knew your heart rather than sometimes they just see that type of aspect.
Yeah, they see the words.
The other thing is, like you just talked about, like, hey, maybe you don't want to be coached like that. Maybe it doesn't feel right. You can't handle the bluntness coming in. Well, that's exactly the person you need to be on a call.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a huge thing when you've seen some of the people come out with just amazing success. Like it's not even surprising anymore. I see some, hey, I've been in for 2 weeks. I already doubled what I made last month. That's not a shock. Why? Because their whole perception of a sales call, of who they are, how to approach the sales call, their confidence in themselves all change. It's not just the word tracks, right? And that's a huge thing about being around the right individuals, the ones that are going to care and love you enough.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer. Tom Bilyeu is somebody I've followed for a lot of years and really like the man. And he has the big thing of trying to remember the exact quote, but essentially, the most loving, caring thing I can tell you is everything's your fault. Because then you realize that you have total control over the changing it.
The good and the bad.
Yep. And you do that for people.
Yeah.
And I see that consistently. You've done that for me. That is more profound of a change for somebody than anything you're going to change about scripts, finding a North Star, how to overcome this objection, this pivot in their life. That's where, like, I truly say anybody that joins the objection box can have their life changed. If they put the work in, like you said, they show up, they do the work, be around the people, understand.
You know where that came from, Scotty? I'll tell you. So I'll tell you how we kind of ended up doing all this. So I've lived that code for my entire life. And I sat with someone this morning, and they asked me a question. They said, how do you keep the drive? I'm going to tell you guys something that I never tell anybody. I have enemies. And I make the enemies up. People are like, what? I make the enemies up. What I mean by that is, like, I have people in my mind that in my head talk shit about me, that doubt me, that want me to fail, that want me to do this X, Y, and Z. And I build a negativity around them that I'm going to ram their face into the ground. And it gives me the edge. It gives me that, like, it gives me the zip to go out there and fight. It gives me the zip to go out there and, pull hair and drag teeth and do this and everything and that. And I always look at people that, like, have done really, really big stuff in their life. And, the big question that when they win something, a reporter will always say to them like this. They'll always say something like this. They'll go, how do you find the drive to keep going year after year? How do you find the drive to keep going once you've achieved it all? And they never actually say it. They never actually tell you what is going on. They always say, oh, it's just a burning desire and blah, blah, blah. No, it's basically, I've been doubted my entire life and I have enemies that I want to make sure when I walk off the field, they know that I've been there. And I always look at it every day as if, how do I keep chipping away at their block? Because eventually, if I keep chipping away at the block, they're going to fall and I'm going to stand. So that's how I live my life every day. And it's someone said to me this morning, like, is that a good way to live your life? And I was like, absolutely not. It's awful. It's terrible. But when I've achieved what I want to achieve in this industry and I walk away and I'm good to go and I retire, then I may want to work on myself. But to bring this back to where we started, so that's my internal drive. That's my internal battle. That's kind of like what gives me the zip every day to get up and keep going. Is that like I want to compete and I want to be better and I want to beat you, because I want to beat myself. You know, it's kind of like when you've been doubted and you doubt yourself and that you have insecurities, and because we all have, like I have my own insecurities. Every single person that you look at in this industry or every other industry, or sports people or Elon Musk or whoever, whatever, I guarantee you they have their own insecurities and their own fears and their own limitations. Everyone has it because it's human nature. So that's what drives me every day. It's like, how can I beat you? How can I beat myself? And how can I make sure that you know that I've been here? It's kind of like when I used to play sport, they would always say to me, go out there and leave a mark on the first tackle. Meaning when you go, you slap and you make sure that that guy knows that you're going to be around for the next 60 minutes. So that's how I've lived my life from the age of 10. But to bring it back to the question about like, when we started the objection box, we started it at 3 months, then we went to 4 months, then we went to 6 months, and now we're at 12 months. And the reason why I've done that, Scott, is this. So when I started, we had a lot of success really, really quickly. The problem that I saw is that when you coach and train and you're in an incubator for 3 months, what happens is people can't sustain that level of consistency. So as you politely put it, you shoot off like a firework. And then when you lose that accountability, coaching structure, real kind of sticking point, this is what you got to do day after day after day after day, then people start to do this, they start to fall away. So for argument's sake, I just completed, as we just spoke before we jumped on, about 75 hard, and then I had my operation, and I'm missing that kind of consistency in my life, and it kind of sends me into a spiral. So I need that consistency. But I think a lot of people just don't have that accountability and sustainability in themselves. So we brought it from 3 months to 4 months to 6 months. Now, a large portion of what we did at the start was just pure education. I'm going to give you the words, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that. And that's what you said, like a lot of people will shoot off like a rocket in the first 2-4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it may be. But what I've noticed over the last 6 months, pretty much from, I would say probably March of this year, I really had to kind of zone in and be like, okay, not everybody thinks like me. Not everybody acts like me. Not everybody, has the consistency that I have. So how do I give them that to be able to make them sustain and keep that consistency in terms of how they earn? So that's why we kept going up and up the time, because it takes time for people to kind of build that routine and structure and kind of consistency into their lives. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think people don't have that?
There are so many variables there. And so, you making a comment of, someone saying, hey, is that the best way to live? I've done personal development for over 25 years. Personal development has fucked me up and more people, I think, than has actually helped.
Yes.
The reason why is because someone can tell you that the way that you are and the thing that made you successful since you were 10 years old needs to be changed because it's not healthy.
Mm.
Now, I'm all for interflexion and changing, right? But I think oftentimes, again, we look at ourselves like, I'm not this like this other person. We compare ourselves to them. We go, why can't I do this? Why isn't this working? Bill and his whole team, they just did 75 hard. They worked out an hour 2 times a day. They were showing up for all their sales calls. They were crushing them. They were, on top of that, showing up and training people multiple times a day. They were getting their practice in. They were eating healthy, all these type of things. Dude, I couldn't get out of bed this morning. There's something fucking wrong with me. People just give up.
Mm.
And I really think, when I coach people for health and wellness, one of the things I try to ingrain on somebody, we're going to do this for this certain reason, but we're going to do this for this certain season. So for the next 6 weeks, you're going to eat just vegan. I don't care what your goal is. we're going to do that so you can see how your body responds to that, how you feel. We're going to get some data. Then we're going to switch to 3 weeks of you just going carnivore. Then we're going to go one to that's an anti-inflammatory healing one, right? Now, I didn't do that with everybody, but my point is to help answer your question. I think a lot of people struggle because they don't know how to actually develop new habits.
Yeah.
They don't know how to make a different change, and they don't know how to prioritize their time.
Mm.
And that is the one big struggle a lot of people have. And, again, in personal development, well, if your why is strong enough, what's your purpose, right? I think one of the biggest lies in business success is, hey, find your purpose and then go build an offer around that. You're going to live happy and healthy. No. Sometimes you have to work a shitty job that you hate to make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year to go live your purpose, which might go spend a month in a third world building schools or something, right? And so it's a very tough question. It comes down to the individual itself. It's one of the things when I coach someone individually is trying to figure out when you hit that resistance part. Like every time you go for a walk, every time you hop on a sales call, every time you're going to do this, you feel a resistance in your brain, in your action. Do I do this or do I not? Right? David Goggins is an extreme version of no matter what it is, he's going to go do it, right? Tony Robbins talks about that too, that I've trained my brain enough to where when I say I'm doing this, my brain might immediately go, no, I'm not, but it doesn't matter. I'm already in action. And that's a muscle and skill that takes over time. And that's one of those harder parts. And to your point of doing it for 12 months, I think is even more amazing than 6 months, because people are going to jump in. They're going to be all in, just like everybody. The first week, the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're so gung-ho, you never miss a session, you're showing up extra, you're watching replays, and all of a sudden you're training on your sales skill 4 hours a day, which is great, but all of a sudden now you're missing other time in life, and all of a sudden you crash and burn, right? And you need to balance things out. And so having a full year to be able to go through that, and it's a long-winded way of saying that I wish humans were like an AI robot. Oh, you're not doing what I asked you to do, I'm going to flip this switch and fix you and have you go do that. Humans aren't like that. And each individual is extremely different on how they act. But that's sometimes where discipline needs to come into play, right? And that's like you said, you build a villain to go out, and so the mornings that you wake up and don't want to do it, it doesn't matter. You got that villain out there that's going to steal from you and take everything from you and your kids. I'm not going to let that happen, right? And people need sometimes those internal motivations, and I think it served you well in that aspect. And
money is not a good motivation, people. Just FYI, money's not a good motivation because
worst.
It's the worst because it's because people are always like, I want to get to X. That's the biggest thing we always hear. I want to get to X amount because then your life is going to be okay. Believe me, I've made a tremendous amount of money very, very quickly in this game. And after 15, 20K weeks, believe it, not even 15, 20K months, life doesn't change. I'm just telling you that all now. So it doesn't really go up or down. It's just whatever it is. So you have to find internal battles and you have to find internal drivers, and you've hit the nail on the head. When I set up in sales, just FYI for people, like I beat 150 people to take the top spot of that the top place when I used to work for Sales Sniper. And I didn't do that because, I was good looking, which I am. I didn't do that because I had an Irish accent, because I do. I did that because I wanted to fucking kill everybody, and I wanted to compete, and I wanted to be better than everybody. And that's just it. And you have to find something in you that wants to get you going, because when you make a lot of money and money's not your issue anymore, it's not your problem anymore, what's going to be left? You hit the nail on the head. It's about that external driver. For me, it's about like, if I don't do it, he's going to do it or she's going to do it, which means that I'm going to be a day behind. And if I get a day behind, that means I've got to take a day away from my family. I've got to take a day away from myself. I've got to take a day away from my goal. So you have to have internal drivers. You have to have something that is more than just a dollar amount, because dollar amount is going to be infinity. And I learned this very, very quickly in sales. If you play against something that doesn't stop, then you're always going to lose, because the common denominator is that you're going to have to stop and you're going to have to adjust. Because if it's a case of I want to just make as much money as I possibly can, and that's the only driver that I have in my life. You're going to be limited on two things. Number one, you're going to be limited on energy, and you're going to be limited on time. You only have a certain amount of energy, and you only have a certain amount of time where money is going to go forever. So I learned that quickly. You can't go against the clock; that doesn't stop. But the internal battle is something that that has driven me my entire life. I'll also say this: I didn't grow up, and I'm fucking blessed, and you're the same. I know I'm only 31, so, but I didn't grow up in. I see it with my 3-year-old now. This is what my 3-year-old does.
Yep.
She got a 6-second attention span. For all of you parents out there, look at your kids and look at how they interact with the phone. And they're only doing that because it's a learned habit. So I didn't grow up in social media. Of course, social media became a big thing later on in my life when I hit like 15 onwards. But for the first 15 years, 20 years of my life, I realized very, very quickly that effort in meant outcome out. And the more effort I put in, the more outcome I got out. Whereas a lot of people that come into sales now, they're in this kind of instant gratification period where they're looking at people like Iman Ghazi, who, you know, is just blown up over the last 2-3 years. But that kid has been working his face off since he was 10, 12, 13, 14 years of age. Now it's coming through fruition because he's 24 years of age, 25 years of age, or whatever. But he's also fucking 10 years of doing the same stuff over and over and over again. And people don't see that. There's a great picture in life where people just see the top of the iceberg, but they don't see the amount of shit that they've had to do underneath the water, as have you. Yep. So it's really, really interesting to see people's behaviors and their actions and their routines on a daily basis and what they're committed to. You know, it's like you and I, when we're in fitness, we would see people come in January and by February they stop going to the gym because they didn't get a 6-pack straight away. So I look at things like 75 Hard or the Live Hard program from Andy Frisella as if a way of like, that's how you need to live your life. You know,
yep.
That's really extreme as well. It's like in a really extreme form of living your life. You don't have to be.
It's funny, speaking of that, when that blew up and people are like, oh, have you seen 75 Hard? Yeah. And I go, everybody I coach, I tell them that they should be doing essentially 2 workouts a day. You should read 10 pages of a book that you're trying to learn a skill on. You should drink your gallon of water every single day, and you should have a normal sleep pattern. Yeah. Right? Like that's just the way life it should be. Like humans are meant to like walk 10,000 steps at a bare minimum, right? Like 20,000 is just for just general health, essentially. And most people get 3,000, right? And so to your point of society has changed drastically, very good in some ways, but also there's always a negative to that point. And that's where some things are lacking. And, you know, you kind of bring up your daughter and scrolling through, you know, it made me think about the post I did over the summer with my girlfriend's daughter, Isla, who we were having breakfast, and she goes, Scott, I want to be in sales and have a business like you because I want to be really rich. And cool. Well, what do you want to do? Right. And so we built a lemonade stand and went out and, you know, kind of taught her some business. And that's one of those big things that, you know, I posted and said, thank you for, because those are things that younger group, like there's a picture and it's a lion and then a cub. And it says, I was ready to quit until I realized who was watching. Mm-hmm. And I think very often we forget who's actually watching us and who we're leading. Yeah. And that is a huge piece of the puzzle. And, you know, I know that that's a driver for you of, I'm leading this way because I'm not going to let all these people fail. Mm. And I think that's a big driver for a lot of individuals as well. And to your point, there are a lot of individuals out there that the attention span's really, really gone. And that's something that needs to change. And that's a hard thing sometimes. I actually stepped back for social media for 60 days myself. I haven't really been on there, haven't really posted. I'm like, you can get lost in there really quick, right? Hey, I'm going to go respond to these 5 people. I'm going to help out this client, get these assets. And all of a sudden, boom, where did that hour go? Yeah. And we have to be really careful of that piece. And that's all making those hard decisions, staying disciplined within making decisions. and money is never that huge factor, right? And I think that's something that a lot of people, I think they need to realize that, oh my gosh, why won't this person drop 6K or 10K or 30K to make this amount of money, right? Don't they want to live that life? Yeah, but if you look at all psychology, all marketing, people run away from the fear, the pain, not necessarily run towards the goal. And if you're missing some of those pieces, you're going to struggle. Now, if you have someone like Elon Musk, the goal is to be the first to Mars, but he's also running away from his whole childhood and being weird and having a bad dad. He's running from that pain, but also running to something else that makes you almost unstoppable.
Yeah.
And so, but money's never really the true factor there. And I think that's where a lot of individuals, hey, I'm getting into space to make 20K a month. Boom, boom, boom. And they're 6 months in, haven't made $5,000 total, and wondering why it is. Well, if your only motivation is that money, good luck. And understanding that it does take time, and you kind of bringing up if we loop back even the beginning, like the testimonial part, right? Like if only the testimonials people are seeing, they're not understanding really what's behind the curtain of what objection box is. And I wish more people could actually see that, experience it, and understand it, because you would probably double your business immediately the moment that happened, because people would be like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect spot for me for more reasons than just one. This isn't just to learn objections, right? No. I've always got my sheets here. I'm a big proponent that, the science says, hey, if you spend 20 minutes a day for 30 days on learning a skill, that by the end of 30 days, you're essentially one of the top 1% in the world on that skill. To think that 20 minutes a day for 30 days that you can accomplish that says so much drastic, horrible stuff about society in general.
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, it doesn't mean positive to everyone else.
Yeah, but it shows how easy it is now in this day and age to actually become one of the best out there, right? But just think, if I went into the objection box going, okay, you essentially teach the front end, the North Star. You have, break it down. Let's break it down into 5 major objections. First, I just every day 20 minutes I'm practicing at North Star. The first month, the second month was the partner, and I broke each one down. I'm focusing on this for 20 minutes a day, going through the word tracks, playing through my mind, listening to either you, James, Nick, on a training call every single day, either sit there, watch and take notes, or if I'm driving in my car, I'm listening to it and going, oh, that I need to go back and watch that. Like I would leave like a note, or, that type of stuff. That all of a sudden now I'm spending 30 to 60 minutes a day perfecting my skill, which that 1 hour is not a hard thing to put into your life.
No.
And it makes a drastic change through that piece. And that's where, again, anybody that's watching this, I mean, if you're in sales, I mean, you should be reaching out to Bill and his team to change your life, because it will change it, not just in skill level. It's going to change on a personal level. Also, if you've been in a remote space, that connections really matter. And I know that, Bill, some of the connections you have open doors that would never open for other people. I've never reached out to you and said, hey, can you open a door for me or anything of that nature? But I also know that if I ever needed that, I could reach out and get that from you. I also know there's a lot of people very, very successful in the objection box that wouldn't be on the offers they are if people didn't know that they were in the objection box with you, because they know what this person now is becoming.
Funny, actually, you said that. I was in London yesterday with a good friend of mine who's from Arizona, and I had another salesperson who is in the Gold Coast of Australia. He says, I'm trying to connect with Eli, but I can't connect with him. And when I say Eli, guys, it's my very, very good friend, Eli Wild. And he says, I'm trying to connect with Eli. I want to get a day's coaching by Eli in X, Y, and Z. And he said, I can't reach him. Can you help? I said, don't worry about it. Let me give him a bell. Within 3 minutes, the two guys had connected, and Eli had made a sale. And my good friend ultimately had got what he needed out of it, which he couldn't do because he couldn't get through to him, or he was in the setter position, or blah 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 blah. So you're absolutely right. It's about connections, and it's about relationships. And this is a big thing that I want people to understand about connections and relationships. People only want to be connected with you, and people only want to build a relationship with you if you are what you say you are, and you do what you say you do. You cannot not build relationships with people that feel that you're trying to get something from them. And you got to give more than what you take out of a relationship at the very, very start for someone to want to actually deal with you, want to help you. So for argument's sake, I have a very good friend over in the Gold Coast who runs a sales training company and is really good over there, and like it's fucking really top quality stuff. And I have another great friend over in Miami. So from the Gold Coast to London to Miami, it took less than 3 minutes for it all to connect and put the dots together. And that's how the world works, you know, and that's what it takes, guys. But you have to be somebody of value to be able to do one, to do one, to do one the other side. That's how it works. That's the game, you know. I got to bounce, and I'm sure you do because it's on the hour, but we could literally sit and we could talk for hours, you know, and that's what I love.
I've got 30 minutes before my client appointment, so
I wish I had, but I got to jump in.
yeah,
I got
it's all good.
to coach the.
I was going to say, don't, if you need to run, that's fine, but don't kick me off on my accord.
No.
Here.
I would love to be there. And there's guys going to be watching this. They're going to be like, "Hey, Bill, I'm waiting for you to speak to me at 3 o'clock, which is 10 a.m. for you guys." I could sit and I could talk for hours because when you connect with people at the level that we connect, and you have life experiences like we have, and we can talk about life, business, sports, relationships, X, Y, and Z. That means to me that you're someone of high value for me. But I can't sit here forever because I got things to do.
Go do your thing, man.
What for you, you've been in the personal space and been building businesses for over 20 years. You've been in online space for 6, you've been in full-time sales for 3, 4 years. Let everybody know what you do. Let everybody know how they connect with you, and let everybody know what you're planning on building, because I want to make sure that enough people can understand it, and as much people as I can, expose you to. That's what I always want to do for all my friends. So I'll leave that with you, and you can tell them.
Yeah, so I've been, in the remote sales space for a while, and over the past few months, I've decided I'm going back into business for myself. And I see a huge problem out in the online space, and I'm going to try to fill a major void. And I've never liked the watch a bunch of modules, 90-day courses, any of that type of stuff. I've always had the best success when it's a do it with you and a do it for you. And the biggest struggle I see is not, again, if we break things down like strategies and tactics, we all know that running ads to a webinar can be extremely successful. We all know running to a VSL can be extremely successful. Running ads to a low ticket and having upsells can all be really successful. The biggest problem out there, people are investing 10, 20, 30, $50,000 into a program that's making their business completely generic and setting them up to fail. And so actually what I'm starting to do is work with owners one-on-one, and essentially being I guess the easiest way to explain it is a fractional CMO. So I come in, look at all your systems, look at your marketing, your branding, and the structures you have of how are you generating leads, how are you making sales, how can we improve all the systems? Because you and I both know, I mean, all the 7 and 8 figure businesses out there in the online space, they all have the same foundation, but so many people are sold on, hey, this is the key to your success, when it's not. So my goal really is to give people double the value of what they're used to paying at half the price, and deliver it faster than others will. And that's what I'm starting to really do. So I'm bringing on clients right now, and going to start growing that online presence towards that. It was, one of the reasons why I've stepped away from social media for about 60 days and focus on other things, but also, going into 2024 here, really starting to take on clients full time. So, and I wouldn't have that confidence or ability either without you. And I think I said that to you too, of, You know, I'm going to follow in your footsteps of having my own business again.
Sure.
And I can't thank you enough for that.
You're going back into the mental asylum. Good for you.
Yep, 100%. You know, there's two sides of crazy, right? Like whether you're working for somebody or working for yourself. And I love coaching people. It's my biggest passion. I love solving problems. That's a strongest skill set. And I can do both, working with online business owners one-on-one and meeting amazing people like yourself, right? Like, and those connections are just, it's just the way I like to do business.
Good. Well, look, it's a privilege always, buddy, to sit and talk for an hour. I'm gonna bounce. Guys, if you want to connect with Scott, I tagged him in the link. If you want to if you got a business or you got issues with your marketing, your sales, your structures, your frameworks, if you want help with anything, Scott is absolutely a guy that can help. It's not just a case of helping in sales, but it's a case of helping across the board. When you've been in this space and you've been building yourself up for the last 25 years, you probably know a thing or two about how to move people in the right direction. So give Scott a follow, give him a message if you have any of those issues. And what I would say to you guys is that we're coming into the last month of the year.
Yeah.
The last month of the year, guys, it can get really, really tasty, really, really quick, because if you do December right, you can hit January properly. And Scott is a testament to that. You do 20 minutes, 40 minutes a day, guys. You know, you do that over the course of the next 30 days, that's fucking over 30 hours of dedicated time to any one skill. If you give any amount of skill 30 hours of dedicated time, guys, you can pretty much move the needle pretty quickly, you know. And that's how I looked at sales. I only had to do one thing, which was get really, really good at the objections, get really, really good at overcoming people and problems, concerns and issues. And that's how things grow pretty quickly. So I would highly recommend you guys jump into our free content, jump into our groups, listen to our coaching sessions. It's all there for free, guys. If you want more, then it's obviously there. But I would definitely start at that level and build yourself up and put yourself in the best position to take on January 2024. Scott, I got to bounce. I'm 6 minutes late.
I appreciate it.
See you later on. Thank you very much. Love the hat. And I'll see you soon, buddy. All right. Thank you. Guys, if you need anything, just comment down below. If you have any questions for me or Scott, just comment down below of what we do or how we work. And we'll be sure to jump in and answer anything we need. All right, guys. Scotty, I'm out. See you, buddy. Bye-bye.